My name is Kevin Rutherford. I'm here to talk about life through my life. Welcome to the Accelerate Through Life podcast. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I have an incredible special guest, somebody that's very dear to my life. He's a husband to Elle. He's a dad to Scooby and Dooby. I love that. Scooby and Dooby. He's got 3 dogs. Is that right?
Yeah, we're up to 3, bro. We had 2, and then I got outscripted on the 3rd one. So here we are. We've got a Bernie Doodle and 2 Golden Doodles.
I love that. Well, and on top of all that, he's a life coach, a business coach, a motivational speaker, the owner of Defined Coaching, none other than Dusty Oglesby. Dusty, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, brother, I'm honored to be here. When you reached out, man, my answer was yes, no matter what. So I love you, man. I've loved being able to walk alongside you and track with you as you just have grown, man, into the stuff that you are. So thanks for asking me. I'm humbled and honored, man.
Well, absolutely. And I'm so excited for the listeners to get to hear this show and the value that I believe it'll bring to their life. Is you've had the privilege of teaching throughout the entire United States and again, being a motivational speaker, being a BOLD coach. Many people don't know this. If you're not a part of Keller Williams, BOLD means business objective, life by design. So tell us a little bit about that journey, what you learned through that journey, and then how you got to become the owner of Defined Coaching and speaking across the entire United States.
Yeah, man. Well, that's, yeah, brother. When I look back, the first thing I'll say is I would not be anywhere that I am today, who I am today, if it wasn't for BOLD, and if it wasn't for what I've learned at Keller Williams. They're incredible brokerages all across our country who poured into people, and I've just gotten the gift to be a part of this one, and it's changed my life. Literally changed my life, and my BOLD journey started actually. 13 years ago, when I walked into the real estate industry, Kevin, walked into a BOLD room because somebody took a stand for me. My team owner at the time, who brought me in, came to me in the office and said, "Hey, you're going to BOLD. It starts next week." And I was like, "No, I'm not, bro. I ain't got the money for that." He said, "I know. I paid it for you." I'll never forget that. And I said, "I'll pay you back." And he said, "No, you're just going to pay it forward. I don't want you to pay me back." He said, "I believe in you, and you need to get in that room." And Kevin, when I walked into that room, man, I was a mess, bro. Angry, frustrated, had been through a divorce, had made decisions in my life that just were not on par with the man that I desired to be. I was kind of blatantly walking into areas that were not serving me well. And so I sat in that room, just broken. And I'll be honest, man, when I first got in there and everybody started standing up and doing there was no chance, no destiny. I was like, man, these people are weird. This is weird. Like, I got to get out of here. But when somebody pays for you, bro, you got to go. You know what I mean? So I was like, I can't leave. And it was in that room, as I sat in that room and I started to look at these people, what I realized is these people were living the life that I desired to live. So I was in the right room, and I realized, man, I'm in the right room. And I wrote down in that room that day, Kevin, I intend to be a BOLD coach. I had not sold a single house in real estate.
Yeah.
To become a BOLD coach, right, you have to sell 75 units 2 years in a row. And I had never sold the house. But I wrote down in that BOLD room, I put it out there, right? I said, man, this is what I intend to do. This is what I'm going for. And so you fast forward, right? A few years, and 7 years later, I got the gift and honor to become a BOLD coach. There's a lot that goes into that. As far as training, right? You go through what I call the most difficult, challenging time of my professional career. Also, the most growth that I had ever had. It was about a 6-month process. Became a BOLD coach, and then had the gift and honor to start going across the country. And you just kind of go out there and make a name for yourself. So here's this little 5'6" dude from Texas, walking into Nashville and North Carolina, and all over Florida, just everywhere. And so the people in the room, man, they just gracious to me. We could literally be on this podcast for hours as I talk about the stories of people that of change in that room. And I didn't change them, Kevin. You know this, brother. Like I was just the voice. They stepped in and made the changes in their life. And that allowed me the opportunity to just really get to walk alongside people in some of the most difficult days of their life, walk alongside them in their wins and their losses. So all in all, especially through the pandemic, when we had the pandemic, we went digital. And we had 42,000 people that were live, the day we went live for Bold. That was the only time in my life I've ever been nervous.
42,000.
42,000 people, man.
Wow.
Gary and the team developed Bold Pivot. We kind of had a goal of about 10,000. And the day we went live, first time I'd ever been live on Facebook in my life, bro, there were 42,000 people.
Right? Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, don't mess that up, bro. Don't mess that up. So anyway, so because of that, right, I had the gift and opportunity that I've been able to coach Bold to over about 50,000 people over the course of the last 5 years. Had the incredible honor of being asked to be the director of Bold. And so was the director of Bold for just almost 2 years. And then, talking about what we learn in that room, business objective and life by design, right? And Kevin, you know this. You've been to Boulder with me a number of times. I would always tell our Bold coaches and myself, right, that Bold is not something that we do. It's a lifestyle, right?
That's
life
right.
by design is something we choose. And what I realized is, I have, as you told everybody, I've got 10-year-old twins that are on the other side of my door right now. We do call them Scooby and Dooby. That's not their birth name. We do call them that, Caitlin and Grayson. And I looked up, and last year I was outside of my home over 150 days. Now, I love it. It's my calling, right, to pour into people. To help people identify their purpose and walk in that purpose and build these defined lives. And I realized that I was no longer integrity in the room because I was not living my life by design. And, when I was 10 years old, I remember being 10 years old, and I remember everything after 10. I don't remember much before that. And so I realized, hey, it's time for me to be at home. I'm coaching life by design. I'm teaching that, and I've got to live that. And so it was the right time, the right season. And so I stepped away completely from everything that I had known for the last 5 years for Bold. And not only what we were doing, also the income, right? That's a scary moment to go,
Absolutely.
hey, everything that we've built, right? And, the graciousness of, Keller Williams talks about that we're a place where entrepreneurs thrive. And I want you to know, man, that's true, because they then allowed me to really step into me, into my season. And so out of that, I've started Defined Coaching, where I coach people one-on-one. I have a one-day program called Defined that we're going to take that all over the country. So I'm committing to 24 of those this next year, which is a lot different than 150 days outside of my home. And we've got virtual pieces and everything else. The whole point, though, of that is we're coaching we're coaching outside of the industry, Kevin. It's not just real estate. It is my ultimate calling in life is your ultimate calling in life, which is how do we help as many people as we possibly can while the Lord gives us breath on this earth, right?
That's right.
And so that's what Defined Coaching is. How do we help people live a defined life, right? And how do we help them leave a defined legacy? We all get a life and we all get a legacy. How are we going to define it? That's the question. So that's where Defined Coaching came out of. And that's where we are today.
Yeah,
right?
no, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing all of that with us. You're incredibly humble. You're a humble man of God. And I don't think it's stressed enough how many lives you've transformed including my own. And so I want the listeners to know, and I know you know this, but this is the man that me and my wife named our son Dusty after. You actually found out we were pregnant before any of our friends or family members. You were one of the very first people, because we said, hey, we're going to wait until birth to find out the gender. And yet if it's a boy, which we had zero, like it was 1%, we thought it was a boy. And of course it ended up being a boy. But we said, hey, if it's a boy, it's going to be named Dusty after you. And then it was even a more special moment that I just want you to share really quick with the listeners about when you found out that Dusty was born and the significance to that.
Yeah, man. Number one, that was just one of the most humbling honors. I'm a crier, so my eyes welled up over here, man. Just to think, that you guys did that. And then you guys named him Dusty Rubin, which I thought I called you. I was like, hey, bro, you got to know this. I was like, my granddad, who was one of my, mentors, right, in this life, it was named Reuben Rouse. And what's funny is, and I shared this with you, I always called him Albert. We don't even know why, but I never even called him Granddaddy. I called him Big Albert. He called me Little Albert. And but he was such an influence in my world. And so then I heard that, and I was like, man, it just blew my mind, right? And that has nothing to do with me. It was just wild to me that you and I, I believe, Kevin, that there's just connections, right? That the Lord puts people in our lives that you just connect with, that you're called to connect with. And you were one of those people, man, the day you walked into the room, this young, I don't know what you were, man, like 21, 22. I don't know what you were, bro.
No, I think I was 22 when I met you. Yep.
Yeah. You were coming in hot, man. And just to see who you are today, man, the husband you are, the father you are, the leader that you are, that's the why in all of it, right? And naming your son after me, bro. I trust that everything good from me will be instilled in him, and all the mistakes you can share with him too, so he doesn't do those.
Absolutely. Well, and before we move on from that topic, I just want to highlight that I didn't know that your granddad's name was Reuben, right? My father's real name is Reuben. He goes by Steve, but his first name is actually Reuben, and so that's where we got it. And then I believe there was some significance to the date that Dusty was born.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so remind me again the date Dusty was born. February 20th.
February 21st, which is ironically the same day as my wife.
February 21st. So your bride born on February 21st, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Dusty born on February 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that's the piece that shakes me up is, and my dad's birthday was on February 21st.
Yeah.
And you know this, that the last day I was able to see my dad was on his birthday on February 21st. And so, man, you just put all that together. There is no one on this planet that can tell me that's coincidence.
I agree. I say God acquaintances because I don't believe in I don't believe in coincidences, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Let's transition because I know there's so much value you bring to the table every time anybody has a second to hear you talk. That's why you get paid to speak all over the country. And I want to hit on something that you said, talking about sitting in the bold room your first time, because I believe the listeners can really relate to that. Not all of them, but I believe there's a majority of them out there that right now especially are going through tough times. Maybe they're going through divorce. Maybe they're going through unemployment. There's a lot of different struggles out there in the world we live in. And so, I think we get this false identity that we think people that are successful, such as yourself, don't have bad days, right?
Yeah.
That's what we think. We're like, man, that guy's just got it going on. He's amazing. He never has a bad day. So I want to start with, tell me about a bad day in Dusty Oglesby's life.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. First of all, we all have them, right? We all have days that don't line up the way that we desire for them to, don't go the way we intend for them to. you know, I call it life happens, right? We talk about this all the time, right, Kevin? That life just happened. Life's happening to all of us, right? Each and every single day. I think the key is that we don't even get to choose necessarily the bad days, right? They're just going to happen. We do get to choose how we respond to them, though.
That's right.
And I think that's the key to the bad days, right? What does a bad day look like for Dusty? You know, one is if Mama and I aren't on the same page, right? My bride. I mean, like, and you've heard me say this in the bold room. Like, we don't wake up in the mornings as husband and wife and be like, hey, the world is perfect, right? Just makes sense, right? Look at this life I designed we're living. Like you know, we have, I call them marital conversations, right? We have moments where we have marital conversations, and if she and I are not on the same page, I'll tell you this, Kevin, and it's part of what I coach is, you know, I coach that what makes up our life is our mind, our heart, our body, our spirit, and our relationships, right? Well, if my relationship with Mama is not in the space that it needs to be, it's going to affect my mind. It's going to affect my heart. It's going to affect my spirit. And then guess what, bro? I have this calling on my life to speak into other people. Do you know who else it's going to affect?
Those people.
The people that I come in contact with, right? And so, yeah, so a bad day for me, here's what I'll say about a bad day really is yes, we all have bad days. I just think it's a choice on whether or not that's what we call it. What I call it is becoming. That's what
right.
a bad day is. Right?
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Would you agree that on those days, on those quote unquote bad days, would you agree that those are the days you grow the most?
100%, man. The days you don't want to get up and you do. The days that don't go your way and you learn. Right. And you've heard me, Kevin, say there's beauty in becoming. Right.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, the strength of our marriage today has come from the moments of challenge and the moments of pain. Right. That's where we as a couple, we get this opportunity to lean in together, to grow together. Right. And I think as men, it's our job to step into that space first and go, hey, let's walk this out, right?
Well, and as men of faith,
and so yeah,
as men of faith, we believe that that's exactly what we're called to do through the Bible, right?
That's right.
You know,
yeah, that's right. I heard my pastor say one time, Kevin, even if you are 99.99999% right, you roll over, tap that sister on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, I'm sorry." For my point, I'm just kidding. You don't say the numbers, like you don't say point out. You just go, hey, well, it's we draw the circle around ourselves, right?
That's right.
And we take responsibility for everything inside of it. That's where we grow. So there's beauty in becoming. There's beauty in the dips. There's beauty in the pain and those bad days, man. You know, we can still win on those days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think you've kind of led right into where I was going next is what motivates you to get up, right? I mean, especially sometimes these bad days accumulate. We have, we talk about that in the bold room of making sure we break things down to where they're achievable, to where we don't let too many bad days collect. Right?
That's right.
So what motivates you to get up in the morning? Are you driven by money, relationship, success? I know the answer, but I want the listeners to know the answer.
Yeah. So, number one, man, my number one motivator is that my beautiful bride and those two kids on the other side of that door. Actually three, right? We a lot of people don't know this. We have what we call our adopted Austrian daughter. She's 25. She's been with us since she was 20. But that's the motivator, right? When my alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and my body, bro, just so you know, this is coming, okay? At 45, your body speaks in a different language, okay? It says things that it doesn't say at 25. And, my body says no. My mind says no, bro. Like my mind goes very quickly to, hey, bro, sleep would be better for you, right? But my purpose, my calling says yes, right? my heart screams and goes, no, 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 no. Like, these two kids need to see their dad get up.
That's right.
Your bride needs to see you get up. And do what I think God called us to do, which is in Genesis, right? He says we are to work it and keep it, right? And so that's the number one motivator, right? Because, and you know this, man, little Dusty in your home, even right now, he's watching everything that you do.
That's right.
Right? His mannerisms are becoming the mannerisms that you and your bride have. The way you speak, the way you move, right? Like kids don't do everything we ask them to do, but they'll do what they see you do, right? And so that's the number one motivator, is that. And then the second one beyond that is the calling to people, right? That's my purpose on this earth, right? Is how do I help as many people as I possibly can? And so I don't want to waste that time. People matter, right? Like if you don't hear anything else today on this podcast, people matter from whatever walk of life, from whatever belief, regardless of the color of their skin, man, people matter. And that's the other piece of it, right? And then, and then we talk about success, right? And then, Zig Ziglar says, if you want to have what you want, just help other people get what they want. So, am I motivated by money? Yeah, bro. We live a big life over here, dude. Okay, like we have big dreams and goals, and I've promised my kids when they're 18 years old they can go to any school they want to on the planet. That takes money, bro.
And I'm coming for you. I just want to throw it out there, right? Because we've talked about, I have had the privilege of watching you get to a point where you fulfill that trip to Disney that you promised your kids and things of that nature years ago. So as I start to my walk of becoming, of being a parent and hitting those milestones, I think, I want to hit something that you said, that things are caught, not taught. Things are caught, not taught. These kids are the babies, the kids, they're sponges, like you said. They're taking in everything that we do, and they're watching every movement. And you kind of transitioned us right into the next deal is okay, if you had one thing, you already said it, but if you had one other thing that you wanted the listener to take away from today's episode, what would it be?
Yeah, that you matter. Like every single one of us on this planet, Kevin, has a defined calling on their life. And it comes in different forms, right? Like you have a defined calling today to be a dad, right? My dad used to always tell me, Dusty, anybody can be a father, right? That's just biology. But not just anybody can be a dad. A dad is a calling, right? I mean, you know this, Kevin. My kids are not my biological kids, right? Like they have zero of my DNA in them, okay, of my physical DNA, but they have my DNA all over them. They walk like me. They talk like me. They're funny like me, right? They didn't get that from their biological daddy because that brother's not funny. And if he listens to this, he already knows we've had that conversation, right? He and I have a good relationship. But we all have, what I want everyone to hear is you have a defined calling. You do not just have a life. You have a defined life, and you are the one that defines it. Right? We're all going to leave a legacy. I don't want to just leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy that's defined, right? I'll tell you this real quick, Kevin. I read a book by Dr. Tony Evans called The Kingdom Men Rising. And he says, most people get up every day and their feet hit the floor and they think, oh man, I'm up, right? Like, what do I got to face today? Right? Talking about bad days, right? Like, wait, what's not going to go my way? What do I have to do? What are the obstacles? And he says, that is not why you were created, right? He says, we were created, right? The book of John tells us that we were created to live life to the full, right? To the full. And so he says, you were not created for your feet to hit the floor and you think, oh man, I'm up. He says, you were created that when your feet hit the floor, that the world goes, oh man, they're up, right?
That's right.
That's it. That's what I would say. You have a defined calling to live a defined life, to leave a defined legacy. Don't just leave a legacy, leave a defined legacy. That's what I would say.
No, absolutely. I love that. And, I just want to highlight again, the reason that you've had such success in transforming people's lives is because of the energy that you bring to anywhere you go. You light up a room, and I know you've heard this. You light up a room every time you walk into it, and I don't know of anybody personally that has a servant heart as much as you do. You care about other people, and you truly want the best for them every single time. And so the other thing I love that you do is you put it all together. It's not just about business. It's not, I know people that are winning in business, but they're not winning as a husband, or they're not winning as a wife, right? And I know vice versa. I know people that are winning as a mom, but they're not winning in business or however they pay their bills. And so I think you do a great job of helping people connect all of the dots and develop that self-awareness of the areas that they can focus on to improve. Again, we go back to drawing the circle around ourselves, so, I've been in Bold with you 5 times. Can you believe that?
It's awesome, bro. 5 times.
Five times I've taken the course Business Objective Life by Design with you. I always tell people I'm a slow learner. Extremely stubborn. I'm extremely stubborn. And so it takes me a little bit longer for things to sink in. And the last 2 or 3 times I've taken it with you, I actually had the privilege of being your assistant, if you will, through the program, and kind of getting to see the behind the scenes, right? A little bit of the behind the scenes and all the effort that goes into it. I walked into my first Bold room with Pat. Pat, I don't know how to say his last name.
Mancuso.
Mancuso, that's right. And I was 21 years old. Just like you, I didn't have the money to pay for it. I didn't want to be there. And because somebody, and my somebody was Barrick McEwen, right? A mutual friend of ours, and one of the other incredible human being that I know.
A leader, man. Come on.
That guy, he took a chance on me. And he told me, and I remember, when we do the activity where we write down an income, I just wrote down to replace the income that I was leaving. And I'll never forget, he tapped on the paper and he said, "You need to double that." Yeah. And I looked at him and I thought, "You're insane. If I could just make this right here, I'll be so happy," right? And it's so funny because I finally told him that story, and he said, "I remember that moment, and I wanted to tell you needed to quadruple it because I knew your potential, but I didn't want to scare you right out of the gate." And and so I think that's just something else I just want to end this show with is, as we can wrap it up. How do they find their purpose? What helps them self-discover that? And figure out how do they live a defined life?
Yeah. Well, I think one, man, is and we've always done this exercise in the Bold Room is you have to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? Like what drives you, right? Because like passion, that's a strong word, right? You guys already know this because I've said it repeatedly. It is no secret that I'm passionate about the people that are on the other side of my door, right? Mama walks into this room right now. She still shakes me to my core. I'm passionate about them. And then I think you have to look at what do you love? What do you love to do? Because here's where I struggle. I think a lot of people in our world get up every day and they do something they hate. And I'm like, man, let's figure out what you love to do. And what you'll find is most of the time, what I found is all the time, what I'm passionate about leads to what I love to do. Here's what I mean. I'm passionate about my family. And so that leads to, I love to spend time with my family. So part of my purpose is to create this defined life that I get to spend the most time I possibly can with them. The reason I started Defined Coaching, Kevin, is last year I was outside of my home 150 times. I got 10-year-olds, man. I need to be in this home, right? Like I'm the patriarch of our home. I'm the leader of our home. If I'm not in here, it's tough to lead, right? And so out of that passion of what I love to do, it helped me discover, hey, my purpose has a new lane to go in, because then the other purpose is, right, I'm passionate about helping people. Mm-hmm. That was it's been my calling since I was 16 years old. And so because of that, I love to teach and coach and probably borderline preach, right? I love that. It's my calling. And so when you put all those together, right, then I'm able to identify my purpose. And then here's where I think people miss, Kevin. I think a lot of people know where they want to go. I think they struggle in how do I get there? And then when they discover how they get there, they struggle with executing to get there, right? Like they miss the execution part.
That's right.
You want to live a big defined life and leave a big defined legacy. You got to get up every day and execute, right? Like the alarm goes off, get up, right?
Yeah.
Get healthy, right? I mean, there's like we could talk about this forever, but it's create the plan, execute the plan, and make sure. One thing I always say is, if who you're being and what you're doing is not in alignment with your purpose, then you need to change who you're being and you need to change what you're doing.
I love that
because now we're just going through the motions of life.
That's right.
And I don't bro, I don't get up every day, and you don't get up every day to make a living. You and I get up every day to create a life.
That's right.
That's purpose.
Absolutely. Well, and I think there's dreamers and there's doers. It's really easy to dream about the life that you want. And like you said, it's hard to execute the plan to get to that point. So last two questions I've got for you is first and foremost, what does 2024 look like for Dusty? What do you got planned for next year?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. So, number one, I'm coaching 40 people right now, 101, where I get to dig in week in, week out with them. Do that right here from my home. So I do all those in the mornings, which then gives me the rest of the day to be with my family. Right. We just had Halloween last night. I've missed that before because I've been on the road. So that's part of what it looks like. I'll be speaking still all across the country next year, just in a different way. So I've written a one-day program called Define that I'm committing to 24 of those this next year. I'm writing a book called Defined. We'll be having 2 conferences this next year that we're going to be bringing real estate agents, and not just real estate agents, but people in any type of sales work into the Dallas area. And we're going to teach just on this, right? How do you build a defined life and leave that defined legacy? And then that's going to start to build out from there, brother. Starting this next year, we're starting to look at defined marriage, defined kids, defined heart. We're going to dig into all of it, man. So the future is super exciting as far as what's ahead of us. And while we're on this, right? And Kevin, you know this, I have a call every Monday morning from 7:30 to 8:30 Central that anyone and everyone on this planet can be on. It is not particular to our industry. It is a mindset call, and it's all about let's start our week in the right frame of mind, and so they can all be a part of that. It's the Facebook group to join is Defined with Dusty Oglesby. So, but that's it, brother. I'll go next year is to help as many people as we possibly can. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I said I had 2 questions, but I have a question within that question, within your answer there. Yeah. As a listener, when I hear everything that you have going on, I can't help but think, how do you do all this? Like, how do you maintain a healthy relationship with your wife, with your kids, be there as a dad, and still accomplish so much in life? Real quick, just hit on that.
Well, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, right? If who you're being and what you're doing is not in alignment with your purpose, then you're being and doing the wrong things, right? And so it starts with who we're being, which takes intentionality and then takes execution. And really it comes down to, Kevin, just exactly that, right? Having a plan and then executing the plan. Like every part of our day is very defined. Literally right next to me right now, I have what's called a skylight calendar. It has every single thing in our world that's going on, right? every call that I'm on, every call my bride's on. So like everything has its spot. And we operate off of that, and we get up every day and execute it. But I would be amiss if I didn't say this. The only way we do any of this is through a deep, abiding, defined relationship with the Lord. That's it. Like this is not Dusty. Dusty left to Dusty as a train wreck. It's accountability too, right? Like it's our relationship, right?
That's right.
You and I, brother, we're accountable to each other. Anywhere we're not held accountable, we're going to be prone to wander. And so part of it out there, if you're listening, you need to get around some people who will hold you to the standard that you desire to live.
Mm-hmm. And that goes into your marriage. That goes with anything, right?
That's right. Your marriage, kids, your bank account, your job, all of it, man. Like it's all of it, right? I mean, we've got to be held to those standards.
Well, that exact answer is exactly what I was looking for: intentionality, accountability, faith. Right? Those are you have to have those key points in your life in line in order to accomplish and to achieve all the things that you achieve in a day-to-day basis. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. That's how people get more done than others, right? As they're intentional with their time. So, all right, my last question for you today. Thank you so much for being on this show. This has been incredible, and I know this is going to be an extremely popular episode, and it's going to be shared a lot because of the value that you brought to the table. So thank you for that. The last question is it worth it? Is it worth it? And I think just listening through the show, we know the answer, right? Dusty's got energy. He's living a life by design. But I want to go into it a little bit deeper. Is it worth it? Is it worth all of the sacrifices that you've had to make? The being away from your family for 150 days last year. And it wasn't just last year. I mean, you've been a bold coach for several years now. So is it worth it?
Yeah. The answer is absolutely. I'll give you one quick story. And I have a million of these. I had an agent come up to me. When we do bold, at step 7, you write a letter. You remember this, Kevin? You write a letter to yourself 1 year from the day, right? And we future pace it. And so you actually write this letter like you say it as if it has already happened, right? And I had a lady that for 7 weeks, this lady sat in the back right corner, and I didn't think she was listening to anything I said. Her arms were crossed the whole time. I said something funny, the whole room would laugh. She would just stare at me. We do a guided visualization. Everybody closes their eyes. They're all into it. She's just staring at me. So I'm thinking, God, this lady ain't getting anything. She can't stand me. Step 7, Kevin. She, first time I saw her do anything, we write the letter to ourselves. First time I ever saw her lean forward and write anything. And she writes it this fast. She's done. Folds it up, puts it in an envelope, walks up to the front. I had a box up front they were supposed to put them in. And instead of her walking up to the box, she walked straight at me. And I was thinking, man, I don't know if she's going to punch me. I don't know. Right? And she walks straight up to me, hands me her letter. And I grab it, and she does not let go. And with huge tears in her eyes, these were her exact words. She says, "Little man," those are her exact words. She said, "Every week I came in here, I didn't want to come in here. Somebody paid for me to be in here." She said, "I didn't do anything you asked me to do." She said, "I probably felled out worse than anybody on the planet." But she said, "I want you to know that I made a promise to myself in this letter, and I want to tell you what it is." And she said, "My promise is that I will be here 1 year from today to open it up. Because when I came into this room 7 weeks ago, I already had a plan not to be here." So yeah, bro, it's worth it. Right? Today, that lady's thriving. And, you know, we don't know everybody's story that we get to that we get the gift and honor to be in a room with in whatever way, right? Like whatever you're doing out there. Here's what I know. People are hurting. Um, and I think it's our calling to go help them. We're all hurting, right? I hurt, you hurt. And you know that story hits home to me as well, just knowing the history of my family. But yeah, man, it's worth it. And you mentioned Disneyland too. Like I want everybody to hear this too. It's not just those stories. Those stories, man, that's worth it, right? But it's also walking into Disneyland. You know, I was 40 something years old before I ever got to go to Disneyland, and we drove to Disneyland during the pandemic, which was absurd, with like 2 7-year-olds, and I think they were 7 at the time, 7 or 8. But bro, when they walked through those gates and got on the other side and turned around and looked at me, it's worth it, right? Like that moment, I was like, oh, it's worth it. So, yeah. Is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it.
Well, I love that, and I just want to thank you for sharing that story. I think it's hilarious that she calls you the little man. Little man, you know.
Yeah. If you back up a little bit, day one, she actually told me, little man, I want you to know that I'm signed up for this, and I didn't choose it, so don't expect me to do anything. So then at step 7, she did it again. Anyway, man, it just...
Well, and so... every time, you know, I've been through Bold 6 times, and so I've received that letter back to myself 6 times. And this is how I want to end the episode, is that, you know, every time I've opened that letter to my future self, I've cried. And I'm not a public crier. As God continues to soften my heart, I'm becoming a public crier. I don't care as much, but definitely didn't used to be. And every single time I get that letter to my future self, I just start crying. And it's almost like a moment of joy that I just can't imagine. You know, I wrote to myself about getting married and, you know, having a child and all of these things that were not even being discussed at that point in my life. And by the time I received a letter, you know, boom, I was married that year. And then the next year when I got my letter back, I was the dad that I had wrote out that I dreamed to be. I was being that dad. And so I think that's so powerful to be able to go back and reflect, right? I think that's what it does. And also within that, it tells us, are we living our life defined? Right? I think that's exactly it. So thank you so much for today. The floor is all yours. If there's anything you want to end it with, please tell us where they can find you. Again, I want to hit the Monday morning call one more time, where they can find that in any of your social media, website, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the Monday call, you can go to Facebook. It's called Defined with Dusty Oglesby. It is open for everybody. You just register for the Zoom. We're on every Monday morning, 7:30 to 8:30. Regardless of your industry. We are all in the people industry, and we're all in the mindset industry. And so that's why that's there. I think we're edging on up to like 800 something people signed up for that call, which is super awesome. And then just me, you can find us at dustyoglesby.com. So no one knows how to spell Oglesby. I don't even think my bride does. So it's DUSTYOGLESBY.com, dustyoglesby.com. That's where you can reach out to book us for any speaking engagements, any coaching questions or anything like that. So that's where you can find us. And I'm sure there's other Facebook and Instagram things, but I don't know what they are. But we're out there. So
awesome. Well, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know our schedules have been hectic over the last 8 months, so you haven't had the opportunity to meet Dusty yet. And so let's make sure we get that on the calendar. Let's go to dinner and make this happen in the near future.
Come on, we'll do it. I love you, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you got something out of the show, please share the show. I know there's people out there that need to hear what Dusty had to say and everything that he covered today. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Accelerate Through Life podcast. Please rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast. See you next time.